Hey nerds, what's up? Today I'm going to talk about why I'm surprised that everyone loves The Witcher so much. See ya after the jump. Okay, so I had the Witcher 3 video game sitting in my library for a really long time, and I just never got around to playing it. And then the Witcher TV show started coming out, and I heard that there was a book that it was based on, which is something I did not know. And after recommendations from a couple of people I knew, I thought I have to check out the Witcher book. It seems really highly rated, and let's get to it. So I started with The Last Wish, which is where Google told me I should start. And I knew it was really popular, and I was excited to read it. Oh boy. Guys, it was bad. I honestly hated it. And I feel like everyone loves it. So I'm going to talk about why I disliked it so much. Now, to start off, I get some of the reasons why it's really popular. The world building is cool. I get the whole idea of a monster hunter being very nice. It's kind of like the same reason superheroes are so famous, because they're fun. And I like the idea of the monsters used to be really bad and now they're not so much anymore and people fear the monster hunters more. I get it. That's a cool world building piece. But The Last Wish is so sexist. So sexist. Now, stick with me here. I think when people hear sexist, they automatically want to jump off and defend something because they don't really understand what it means. Just because a book doesn't have female characters doesn't make it sexist. A great example is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings barely has any female characters, but it is not a sexist book. A sexist book is a book that only views women through a specific lens. And that lens is usually not very flattering, and it usually reduces women to their bodies. And nothing reduces women to their bodies more than The Last Wish. The lens in which The Last Wish views women is that they are only valuable to men. They are only valuable for sex. They are only valuable as far as their bodies are valuable. They do not have their own motivations. They only matter based on if they matter to the main male character. Now I'm going to back up my claims. First of all, this book starts off with a sex scene, which already is starting off bad. It happens in fantasy. But this sex scene is basically about a nymph who doesn't speak, cannot speak, who is obsessed with Geralt and just wants to have sex with him. Okay, do we already see the problem there? We literally open up to a scene with a speechless woman, okay, who is naked, first off, okay? So I was a little wary, but it's just a first scene. I continued on thinking that there could be more. There was just more of the same. The insane thing about The Last Wish is that we see every single woman character naked except one. The only woman who remains clothed in this novel is Nanique, who I think I'm saying that right. She's the only one, his little mentor friend. Every other woman is seen naked. Every single one. From serving girls to have no really part of the plot, to thieves, to sneaky women, to witches. Any woman, there is a reason we see her naked. They are raped. They are sexualized. They are always talked about in terms of their body. I was blown away by every woman not escaping it. From the evil ghost, whatever they are, to the normal women, everyone is sexualized. Additionally, every single woman in this book is in love with Geralt, the main character. And this is already a trope that I find annoying. It happens both for male and female characters, but it's taken to an extreme in this one, in that every single woman sexually desires Geralt and then follows through on it. Every single woman, from the feisty thief, all of a sudden she falls puddily at Geralt, to the witch, who for some reason finds Geralt irresistible and then falls in love with him after knowing him for 24 hours, and we're supposed to believe it's some great love story? The bath scene with the witch, Yennefer, where he just talks about her body constantly. It is just so overbearing. I literally rolled my eyes and kind of started laughing I couldn't believe it. But there's one quote that takes the cake for me. There was a lot of sexist quotes in here, but this one's amazing. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. The young sorceress would become attractive because the prestige of her profession demanded it. The result was pseudo-pretty women with the angry and cold eyes of ugly girls. Girls who couldn't forget their ugliness had been covered by the mask of magic only for the prestige of their profession. I'm honestly speechless. The cold eyes of ugly girls. I laughed because it's so ridiculous, but it's also just a great example of how this book views women. I would not want to know this author in real life because it's really difficult for me to imagine that he respects women in any way when he can write about them so callously. And there could be some excuse well, Gerald just views people that way. But Gerald is viewed as a hero. He is not viewed as somebody who we should find problematic, and that's an issue. Look, the sexualization of women in fantasy and pretty much any media is very commonplace, and there's a lot of media who does it that I can still enjoy. But there's a certain level of sexualization that I can just not accept, and The Last Wish hits that. It's when it's every single woman, when it's just unabashedly like that. And the crazy thing to me is I've tried to talk about this book on places like Reddit and other places that discuss fantasy novels, and people always come at me and they're like, where is this book sexist? And that greatly concerns me. It concerns me that people can read The Last Wish and not view it as sexualizing women. That honestly disturbs me more than the book itself being that way. If we can't recognize that that's not an okay way to view women, then how are you treating the people in your real life? And I just wish that this wasn't as regarded as it was, because it seems to normalize that treatment of women in fiction, which is something I'd really like to see less of. Now, beyond the sexualization, there was actually other stuff I had problems with in this book. Like I said, I actually was kind of interested in the world building, particularly the kind of twist on fairy tales that were talked about. Like, I always kind of liked that. But the characterization was problematic even with Gerald. In the very beginning of the book, we have this scene where he randomly murders a ton of people in a pub for disrespecting him. And then the rest of the novel, he refuses to kill anyone because he's like a pacifist or something. So that was really confusing. And I actually think most of the characters had very weak characterization. We didn't spend enough time with them. Additionally, this book wasn't really a novel. It was more like a series of short stories strung together with very little overarching plot. Now, I don't know if that gets fixed later on in the books, but for this book, I kind of felt like it was a very weak novel in that way. Now, interestingly enough, my hatred of this book actually didn't turn me off from the video game. I feel like actually this book reads like it was a video game first turned into a novel. And I feel like probably the video game does away with a lot of the sexism problems I have. It probably mostly focuses on Gerald and monster hunting, which I think was probably a super fun game to play. So I'm actually still interested in going and playing the game, which I think is kind of interesting. I am definitely not interested in watching the show though, because I'm sure some of those same problems are there, and I've heard they were there. So I want you to tell me what you think. I know this is a pretty well-read book, and I want to know if you noticed the sexism in this novel and it bothered you as much as it bothered me. I'd also like to know if you read the rest of the series, if some of these problems get fixed. I've heard that they get better as they go on, so I'm curious if that's true, particularly from a misogynistic lens. So let me know in the comments what you thought of this book, or what you thought of the TV show if you've seen it, and if it fixes any of those problems. If you're a big Witcher 3 fan, let me know. And if you liked this video, please like and subscribe and comment, and you can check out what I'm currently reading if you see me on Instagram at bookborn.reviews. I'll see you next time. Bye.